All right, let's start with an easy one. Let's go to the Miami Dolphins, producer Harry's team. They've clinched the playoffs. That Bills game is going to be huge. And BMAC, they moved to the Sunday night, so Steelers fans going to have to wait a long 28 hours or so because they play on Saturday. Steelers need to win that game. Which is the most likely scenario? Does Buffalo make the playoffs, which means they got to beat the Dolphins, and that's going to make them the division champs as well? Let's start there. What do you think, Lijay?
That Steelers game is in Baltimore, right?
Yep.
What
are you shaking your head for?
I know you guys are big Steelers fans. I don't think John Harbaugh is not going to play his starters, man. You would have to say, just looking at the two teams and how they've played this year, yes, Steelers are playing hot right now, but the way this Ravens team has played, I think
everybody.
Yeah, and honestly, even with Huntley, I think they can still make some noise with him at quarterback. So I think it's going to be tough for the Steelers. The only caveat, right, is if he does pull them out at in the first quarter, I think the Steelers do have a good chance. There is a real scenario that the Bills could lose. I don't see that happening either, just because Miami is getting killed with injuries right now. When you talk about Raheem Mostert most likely being out, Jalen Waddle being out, Tua Tagovailoa got hurt in that game. He probably could have came back and played. Losing both of their pass rushers, right? Bradley Chubb is done for the year now.
That's huge.
Losing Jalen Phillips. And let's not forget, Mac, Xavier Howard is hurt too. He got hurt early in that game. So they're just dealing with too many injuries. And B-Mac, you know this, to make a real run at the playoffs, you got to have some luck. You got to have some injury luck, right? You got to get healthy at the right time. Buffalo is starting to get healthy at the right time. And for all the people that were talking about that defense and all the injuries it had, that defense, honestly, has been saving Josh Allen in this offense the last 3 weeks when you look at it, right? Rasul Douglas, right, was Defensive Player of the Week this past week.
That's the underrated trade of the trade deadline.
Oh, my God. Nobody was talking. Like, people said it was a good trade, but the way he's played, he's been dominant the last 3 weeks. And Bernhard, when Milano went down, like, people were worried about him. He's played really good football as well at the linebacking position. So if you look at this defense, I think they're top 10 like the last 4 or 5 weeks in almost every statistical category. Meanwhile, Josh Allen last week versus New England, 50% completion percentage, bad interception. And then when they were up, he's trying to run and get a first down. He gets tackled, B-Mac, and just throws the ball behind his head like he's trying to reach out and get a first down. And he fumbles the ball.
That's what he
New England could have scored and took the lead with right there.
Yeah,
you go back 2 weeks ago versus Dallas, that had nothing to do with Josh Allen. That was all James Cook. Right? He'd had 180 all-purpose yards. You know what Josh Allen threw for in that game? 94 yards and a 48% completion percentage. So people were talking about putting this dude in the MVP race. I'm like, have y'all not been watching film? Like, when Joe Brady took over, he made it a conservative effort to run the football, right? And this defense has started to get healthy, and they played a lot better. Josh Allen should have not been in that discussion. When you throw an interception 11 out of 12 games, how can you be in the MVP race like that?
He's got more turnovers than anyone in the last 4 years, I believe.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah.
All right, B-Mac, I'll ask you this. So are the Bills going to beat the Dolphins to get in? And then you can circle down and tell me what your Steelers are going to do too.
I hope Miami wins, but I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing with Leger. I think Miami, they're dealing with too many injuries. The key guys, man. And yes, Josh Allen has been turnover prone, but the flip side to Josh Allen, he's an elite talent playing the quarterback position as well.
He's a Dolphin killer too.
Yeah, that's the flip side. If this game was happening in around 1 o'clock with that sun beaming on that sideline to the visiting sideline, but Miami, man, they're dealing with that. No Chubb, Phillips. Is Jerome Baker back? I think he's still injured as well.
He's still out, yeah, too.
He's still injured.
Just came back.
Yeah, Xavier Howard. You're playing against a team that has been in desperation mode going back 4 weeks ago in Buffalo. Yeah. So I hope Miami find a way to win this ball game. But if I had to put something on it, I'll take Buffalo because they're the healthier team.
It is funny how the Dolphins struggle against good teams. And it's hard to put your finger on why, because that offense is so explosive. But unlike the Ravens, which that offense travels and that defense travels, it feels like the Dolphins somehow hit a rough patch when they would go up against teams that are just a little better.
It's this. When you see teams struggle against a certain type of team, it boils down to them not being physical, them not being able to win the game in the trenches. When you talk about a team like Baltimore, their style of play will travel because they're a physical ball club, regardless of what type of scheme they're going against, offensively or defensively. They are physical in the trenches. So for Miami, they're not a physical team. Yes, they do an exceptional job running the football, but it's a finesse running style. Yeah. They're not coming down powers and leads and things like that. It's more perimeter pulling guys and kind of using motion, and they kind of manipulate your eyes a little bit. Yeah. And of course,
it's
Dallas,
deceptive.
Yeah, they try to manipulate you. Baltimore's coming down the teeth. You know what we're going to do.
You know what it is.
Yes. And they play the same way on the defensive side as well. So you talk about style makes fights. It's like that in the game of football. So for me, it's Miami. If they can come down the teeth of Buffalo's defense, that's where they're vulnerable at. I like Ed Oliver, but he's a bit undersized. You know what I mean? Sometimes he can kind of get lost in traffic a little bit. Linebacker-wise, with no Matt Milano, the same can be said. Those guys can kind of get lost in traffic. But if you're trying to hit the perimeter where they can just run, they're going to be successful. So in transitioning to Baltimore and Pittsburgh, number one, if Pittsburgh would have just beaten the Colts or Arizona or New England
or the Patriots, that's right.
Yeah, they wouldn't be in this scenario. This conundrum already. Yeah, they wouldn't be in this conundrum right now. If they would have started Mason Rudolph 2 weeks earlier, they would be okay. They wouldn't have to worry about anything. Now they got a window shop. They got to look outside their window and see what's going on and hopefully get in the playoffs. But I'll say this, though, Leger, one thing I know about Baltimore and Pittsburgh, even with Lamar Jackson, with all their stars, they struggle against Pittsburgh.
They do.
They struggle against Pittsburgh.
They lost earlier this year. Yeah, they lost earlier. Yeah.
It's something about those teams where both coaches will emphasize this. We know them extremely well. They know us extremely well. So it's almost like who's going to be the most physical team. And TJ Watt, he loves two quarterbacks in the AFC North. He loves Joe Burrow and he loves Lamar Jackson.
You got rid of Joe. Lamar's left.
So that's why I don't think they play a full game. I think they play a quarter, maybe a half, the starters. Because TJ Watt, it's something about TJ. He's always in the backfield with Lamar Jackson. And, Pittsburgh, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pittsburgh find a way to win, all right, especially with them pulling.
You got 8 minutes, so we're going to try to speed through these things. And I'll say this, too. We talk about that 2019 Ravens team sitting starters. You don't want to be the John Harbaugh who plays Lamar and he gets hurt either. That's a conversation you don't want to have. That's the issue. Yeah. So you got to be careful. All right, let's go to the AFC South. Every one of these teams, Jacksonville, Houston, Indy, can still win the division.
Crazy.
Houston faces Indy, and Jacksonville faces the David Teppers. Lige, who wins the division?
Well, Jacksonville actually plays Tennessee. They just played Carolina this last week.
Sorry. That's right. Yep, you got it.
I think Tennessee Titans have packed it up. I think if Will Levis was playing, this game would be a little bit more interesting. But with him getting hurt and Ryan Tannehill seems like he's already ready for the offseason already.
Yes, sir.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars win this. Now, the interesting thing is Saturday we get to figure out which team from the AFC South, whether it be the Houston Texans or the Colts, who none of us probably in the beginning of the year said had a chance to make the playoffs. Two rookie head coaches when you look at Shane Steichen and also my guy DeMeco Ryans, right? I'm leaning towards Houston winning this game, even though it's on the road, right? When you look at this, right, the Colts boat raced them earlier, right? They were up by 18 going into the fourth quarter. Stroud still threw for like 380, but a lot of it was garbage yardage. But C.J. Stroud coming back last week, completing 75% of his passes, I think was big just for the mental capacity of the Houston Texans, right? And the one thing about the Indianapolis Colts that we know with Shane Steichen with the RPO, they want to run the football. Well, this Texans defense has not gotten enough credit for how they've stopped the run this year. They're only giving up 3.3 yards a carry, B-Mac. So we always talk about, right, styles make fights, right? This Texans defensive front, and I know me and Ryan have talked about, them and Will Anderson a lot this year. He came on strong last week with 2 sacks as well. But if Jonathan Grenard could come back and they get them in third and long situations, Grenard is going to get a bag this offseason. He already had 12.5 sacks. He missed, I think, the last few games, but we'll see if he's able to practice this week to give them a boost. I just think it comes down to the quarterback play, and I trust C.J. Stroud a little bit more, even though he's a rookie. Gardner Minshew played really well last week, right? Was efficient with the ball, didn't turn it over. They ran the ball well with Jonathan Taylor at home. They're at home this game, but I'm liking the Texans to pull off the upset.
B-Mac, let me set it up for you. Over the last month of the season, the team with the most sacks in the NFL, Houston Texans. I got 21. Yep. Number one. Number two, no one on planet Earth has once mentioned, hey, man, why did the Texans trade up to number 3 to get Will Anderson Jr.? No one cares. That turned out to be a grand slam of a trade. Correct. So that works out as well. So, B-Mac, what do you think of the AFC South in terms of who wins and who gets in?
I think Jacksonville wins because, as Lejay mentioned, Tennessee has nothing to play for. They're just trying to get out of this ball game healthy, right? I love Houston. I love Houston against Indy. I'm taking the best quarterback. Having C.J. Stroud come back last week instead of coming back this week was huge. Man, he didn't do a lot, but he did enough, right?
Yeah,
he got his feet wet. He got his blood flowing again. So now he should be much better in this outing against the Colts than what he was last week. And he played pretty good football a week ago at home. And Will Anderson, he had 2 sacks last week. He's playing some of his best football in the month of December.
Amen.
Sheldon Rankins as well, another former first rounder playing great football. So these guys are hunting. They're hunting on the defensive side. So I take Houston against the Colts.
All right, let's run through these real quick so we can get back and talk about the Steelers quarterback controversy. So we all agree Dallas is going to win it.
Yep.
Do we?
NFC East.
Do we?
Man, have you seen the Eagles play?
You mean, but my thing is, if they win versus the Giants and Dallas slips up like they did last year, then the Eagles win the division.
But I can see both teams slipping up, honestly.
That is true. Because let's not forget, Dallas has not been as explosive on offense the last few weeks, right? If you go back to the Miami game, right, they lost a close, low-scoring game. They lost they won a close-scoring game versus Detroit. And B-Mac, we know this. Detroit defense was awful going into that game.
Yeah.
Right? Now, CeeDee Lamb had a big day, and so did Dak. But the Detroit Lions did really well in the red zone, right?
I'll say this. For Jerry Jones' health, Dallas, don't screw this up.
No, I don't.
If they try and lose the Commanders, oh my, and Philly wins,
they might fire McCarthy before the playoffs.
That's the thing. He might get Jerry Jones might give him the David Tepper treatment and throw a drink in his face before he sends him out into the street. All right, so the NFC North, we know about the Lions there.
Yep.
I feel like Green Bay's next man up.
I do.
I think they're in trouble this week because they're playing the Chicago Bears, and they're one of the hottest teams.
Okay,
like they were in this scenario last year with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions had nothing to play for. Chicago has nothing to play for, but Justin Fields is still putting great tape out there just in case he gets traded. And it's not just Fields, right? It's the team. The defense, since the trade to Montez Sweat, is playing top 10 defense right now, right? So like Jalen Johnson and then Stevenson with a couple interceptions.
Edwards at linebacker.
Yeah, like they played really good football for the last month. So
to the point that Matt Eberflus got his job saved.
Yeah. Oh, so they came out and confirmed it already?
Not confirmed, but according to the report, I think Rappaport reported.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense.
All right.
I'm not an Eberflus fan, but yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, people that play for him like him. Like they say he's a good coach, but at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses. Yeah. And finally, man, the NFC South. So Tampa Bay wins. They win the division. They lose. Some other team wins the division.
Tampa not losing to Carolina. No.
They're not losing to the fighting David Teppers.
No, they're not losing.
Well, the interesting thing is the Saints can still get in the wild card even if they don't win the division.
Yeah, no, I think that's right too. But I mean, look, that
I don't want to see 2 teams get in from the NFC South.
No one wants that.
I think it should be illegal for that to happen.